Alright guys, so today's video we're checking out the PXN SenseBuds X2. Now this is a very interesting pair of earbuds for a number of reasons. Now one, yes, this is from a company that I had never heard of. I went on their site to check out some other things that they offer, and it seems as though they're normally a gaming focused company. So I was wondering how that ties in with these earbuds, and you'll see why this makes sense in just a second. Now there are two different versions that you can purchase on these. One is listed normally at retailing at 90 bucks, the other one's listed at 80, but right now both of these are on sale on Amazon, where the higher tier model comes in at $50 and the other one comes in at 40. And so you're probably wondering, what is the huge difference between the two? And really it's simple. The more expensive model comes with a wireless USB dongle. And if you don't know why that would be important, you can use this to actually use your earbuds with your PS4, your PS5, your PC, your laptop, your tablet, all of these different things, especially where normal true wireless earbuds can't be used on gaming systems. This little wireless dongle makes it where you don't have to pair and then unpair if you're gonna go from your PS5 to your computer or to your laptop or whatever. It's always just paired to that dongle itself, and it's easy just to switch it by plugging it into each different device. So it makes it really convenient. Obviously you can just pair it like normal to your phone or your tablet and not need the dongle, but having the dongle is actually pretty convenient if you're like me and you like to just use all of these different things. Now, some other things about these is they do use Bluetooth 5.2. I never had any kind of dropouts with these, so it has a solid connection. I also did not notice any lag when it came to movies, videos, or gaming, because this pair also has a gaming mode that you can switch them into. Now it says that it will go up to like 60 milliseconds of latency, but I felt like this pair did a really good job of making sure everything was in sync. But do keep in mind, if you are gonna use these in gaming mode, it's gonna cut down the distance that you can get from your device, but it will also cut down some of your battery life. But another huge thing about this pair, and this is another thing that surprised me being from a no-name company, is this pair also works with an app. And with this app, you're able to keep your earbuds updated. It had different EQ options. You can even custom EQ them yourself. It has two different surround sound modes that you can switch these into. This pair also has active noise canceling, so you can switch your active noise canceling on, turn it off, and even switch into the transparency mode. You can switch around the controls, and then you can switch it into gaming mode all within the app. And again, coming from a company I'd never heard of, this was actually pretty impressive. But what wasn't impressive is the active noise canceling. I don't think this is one of those pairs that I would recommend if you're looking for a pair that has noise canceling, because it's pretty much non-existent. The only thing I did notice is when I turned it into noise canceling mode, the volume took, a huge dip. I mean, it went down like 50%, and I didn't feel like it was blocking out any extra noise, so I really never saw a reason to leave these with the noise canceling on. But if you do want to switch these into transparency mode, that way you can hear your surroundings, I think it did a good job here. I was easily able to hear my surroundings. I could carry on a conversation without taking my earbuds out. But there was definitely a significant amount of digital noise. I felt like the mics were pretty sensitive, so really you would only switch it into transparency mode if you needed to carry on a conversation. I don't see listening to music while leaving it in that mode. Now, as far as using these outdoors, which would be another place you would use the transparency mode, these do come in rated at IPX4, so it does have some water protection against rain and splashes and sweat and things like that, but this isn't one of those pairs that you would want to submerge into water. Now, as far as what all you get inside the box, this pair does come with 3 different sets of silicone ear tips. It does come with a USB-C cable for charging, but another huge plus, especially from a no-name company and on a pair of earbuds that are under 50 bucks, this pair also has Qi wireless charging. So you don't have to keep up with the charging cable. You can just come in, drop it on a wireless charger, and it'll just start charging that way. But speaking of the charging, battery life is not the best on this pair. If you're gonna use these with the noise canceling on the whole time, you're only gonna get about 4.5 hours out of the earbuds, with around 20 hours using the case. But if you wanna just use these with the noise canceling off, which I recommend, you're going to be able to get up to 5 hours out of the earbuds and about 22 hours using the case. So, battery life overall isn't something that's very impressive, and there's no fast charging on this pair, so you do have to just throw them back in the case and wait. I think it's like an hour and a half 1.5 to 2 hours to get these fully charged. But moving over to looking at the case and the earbuds themselves, the case actually has a really nice texture to it. It's a soft silicone. Now on the bottom of the case, you can see the USB-C input, and right next to that is the Bluetooth pairing button. Now on the front, you do have 4 indicator lights, and this is just to kind of help you gauge how much battery life is left on the case. But when you open up the lid, again, you see the yellow lining inside of the case, which just gives it a little bit of pop. But the earbuds themselves actually have a nice texture to it as well. It actually has like 3 different feels to it. It has like a soft silicone, a smooth plastic, and then what kind of feels like a metal or maybe even an aluminum finish on the outside. Now the outside is where your touch controls are located, but the touch controls on here, I'm happy to say, give you control over everything. And you don't actually have to use the app to switch it into some of these other modes because you have your play, your pause, your ability to skip your tracks forward, go backwards, you have your volume control, you have the ability to switch it into the noise canceling and transparency mode, and then you also have the ability to switch it into that gaming mode. And all of it is right there on the earbuds themselves. And for you guys that do like to use your earbuds for phone calls, this is definitely not one of those pairs that you would want to be using to take phone calls. I just feel like my voice sounds way too digital. In fact, it kind of just garbles it up and makes it hard to understand at times. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here.
All right, guys. So here is the mic test using the Sense Buds, and as you can tell, it's probably even hard to understand what I'm saying. It just sounds like some digital waves are going through my voice, and it's just not very clear. But this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test for the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public.
So now let's talk about the sound. Now the sound from these, which they're using 10mm composite diaphragm drivers, is slightly warm out of the box. And what I mean by that is the bass not necessarily is taking over. This is not a very overwhelming bass out of the box. It just has a little more presence than the mids and the treble. So it just causes your mids and treble to have a little bit of warmth to it, which in some cases is beneficial. It makes the mids sound a little more natural. They're not really high pitched or high toned. Having that warm sound just gives it more of a neutral feel. Now the mids on these are slightly boosted, and if you're gonna be using these for gaming or watching movies, that's important because that's what brings out your dialogue, or it brings out, you know, subtle footsteps and things that you need to hear if you're gonna be gaming. And the treble on these, it brings out a lot of details, but this is not a bright or harsh sounding treble. It just comes through pretty clean. And again, having that warmer tone is just kind of dialing it back a little bit. So the best way to try to explain these is if you're looking on an EQ line, the bass is boosted a little bit, the mids are slightly boosted, and then the treble is kind of between the mids and the bass. It's not boosted, you know, above the bass, but it's not falling back behind the mids. But what I was able to do is go into the app and EQ these a little bit more to my liking. So I boosted the treble quite a bit so I can get a little bit more brightness out of it. The mids I left alone because I felt like the mids are kind of where they needed to be. And the bass, I actually still kind of turned it up a little bit, just so it had a little bit more punch. And one thing that I do want to say is if you switch it into gaming mode, the bass on these becomes quite a bit more boomy. So it has a little bit more presence if you're gonna use it in gaming mode, but I didn't like what gaming mode did to vocals. I felt like it kind of almost had a little bit of an echo effect. Now this pair does have 2 different surround sound modes, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, there's no need to use these. It just adds too much of a weird effect to the audio. So the way that I recommend it is either just use it the way that it sounds out of the box, or just go in and custom EQ it more to your liking. And even some of the pre-built EQ settings in here actually does a nice job. And then outside of that, the sound stage and the sound imaging in this pair was actually done pretty nice as well. Now this isn't an extremely open sounding earbud. It does leave me kind of feeling like I'm in a medium to large size room. And I had no issues with being able to tell where different sounds were coming from. And again, this is important if you're gonna use these for gaming. So my overall opinion is, yes, this is from a company I had never heard of. And I think at the initial $90 price tag, that's a lot to ask from a company that you're not familiar with. But what you're getting is active noise canceling, although it's not really doing anything. You are getting a gaming mode. You're getting a wireless dongle that you can use in situations where you can't use normal true wireless earbuds. You are getting app support, which is giving you those different EQ options and the ability to switch around the audio the way that you want to. And I think being able to get these at the sale price of 50 bucks, especially with that wireless dongle, it just makes it really convenient. You don't have to just disconnect from one device to connect to another. It's just connected to that dongle and it just switch around to all those different devices. It's a very convenient pair to have and a surprisingly good sounding pair that I didn't expect a whole lot out of, because I thought at first being able to get these for 50 bucks, I was gonna be paying more for the wireless dongle, and really that is just a nice added bonus. So guys, that's my video on the PXN SenseBuds X2. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.